This is Defiant's Daily Dispatches for the Defiant. It is Friday, and it was a bad day for Donald Trump. It was a bad week for Donald Trump, period. Full stop. Normally, we do the MAGA losses of the week on Friday. I'm just going to say the whole week was a loss for them. We're going to get into that today. And I want to bring in my Defiance.org co-founder, Xander Schultz, because Xander, as we were building the script for today's show and kind of listing the things to talk about, the punches just kept coming. And you saddled up on your horse and said, let's ride, baby. Trump's in danger.
I may or may have not been watching Yellowstone shorts on YouTube all day. It got real into the theme. But I'm here now, saddled up, ready to ride and serve out these L's to the MAGA coalition and Donald Trump in particular. Let's do it.
Serve out the L's, baby. It is Friday here on Defiance Daily. So not only are we going to go through the MAGA losses of the week, we're going to be awarding later in the program the Donald J. Trump Soulmate Award, the person this week who most licked Donald Trump's boots. And this is a really special day because you get to vote for who wins the award. No more Miles and Xander and Mercedes deciding who the winner of the week is. You get to decide who wins the award this week, and then you get to go make sure they know on social media. You get to know, you get to make sure that they know that they won that award from Defiance.org. So there's that. We also have with us today, Xander, a special guest. Our friend Wajahat Ali is going to be with us, and I can't think of a better day and a better program to have Waj on than this one. And then finally, if you're one of those people out there that's listening to this and saying, who the hell are these guys? Who do they think they are?
Who's this cowboy and his friend?
You can find out by going to Defiance.org or following us on socials. Or if you care about protecting your democracy, whatever platform you're watching this on, hit the like button, hit the share button. If there's a subscribe button, hit that button too. Doesn't go to our bottom line. It goes to democracy's bottom line. That's what you need to do. Start spreading the word and spreading the defiance. So follow along. And if you feel inspired by fighting back, well, then join us on Defiance.org. Lots to talk about today, my brother, because we usually spend half the show covering some new Trump overreach before we get to all the MAGA fails. But today, because those losses I talked about just kept coming, we're just going to go straight into it. We're going to go straight into it. But there is one little thing first. We need to start with some breaking news because Donald Trump suffered two major setbacks in court today. So we're going to go first to 6 ABC Philadelphia for one of those stories.
A judge in Virginia ordered a temporary freeze on any payments coming from the Trump administration's anti-weaponization fund. U.S. District Judge Leonie Brickema announced the order today. She's considering arguments in a lawsuit brought by a former January 6th prosecutor to block the fund permanently. The order prohibits the administration from taking any further action in distributing funds. The Trump administration had planned to create a nearly $1.8 billion fund to compensate people who it says were wrongfully targeted by the Biden administration.
Slush fund, frozen, cash for criminals, not a program that Congress authorized, not going to go forward, at least at the time being. That didn't even make it into our losses of the week list because it was such breaking news, and yet it's such a big loss. As they noted, Xander, while the fund has been hit with a growing list of lawsuits, today's ruling stems from a case brought by former January 6th prosecutor Andrew Floyd and a coalition of other plaintiffs who argue the fund is an unlawful political compensation program for Trump's allies. Does anyone think it's anything other than that? Floyd, by the way, was joined by Jonathan Caravello, a California professor who was acquitted after being prosecuted during protests over an immigration raid, as well as the city of New Haven, the National Abortion Federation, and the watchdog group Common Cause. Together, Xander, they argued that Trump's so-called anti-weaponization fund was never authorized by Congress and amounts to a taxpayer-funded rewards program for political buddies of the president. And notably, the judge said that pause was necessary to ensure taxpayer money is not irreversibly distributed before the courts can determine whether the program is even legal, which is really great, Xander. They've literally frozen Donald Trump's ATM machine and said, you can't crank out the cash. Nope. Full stop. Paused. The courts have demanded it.
When we have our defiant hero of the week, this judge would have been a great nominee if we had that going this week. Killer ruling by this judge. Do you think the fact that they made the fund $1.776 billion undercut their argument that this was a legitimate fund? They essentially created a meme fund, probably undercut their argument.
This would have been like just to transport people in a time machine back to the normal times in government. The first thing that would have come up in conversation in the room, once all the dumb and other illegal decisions had been made, folks would say, you know, don't you think we're going to get challenged that this is not legitimate on the fact that we concocted the number required to pull this forward? Like, don't you think that that's going to be like a big target
out of a hat
on the program's back, that we created a compensation fund that we didn't determine based off of what we estimated the actual needs of compensation were? We just wanted a cool number for the president.
We want a meme coin. These are the people who brought you like Doge
meme
and all these other dumb coins. So it makes sense.
Look, I've been saying all week, I know people were despondent about the slush fund. They should be. They should be despondent about the corruption, but they should be heartened by all the defiance and the near certainty, in my view, a non-lawyer, that this thing is going to be ripped to shreds in the courts. And we're already starting to see that happen. And guess what? All of the lawsuits haven't still dropped yet. There's an avalanche of other lawsuits coming against this thing. It's going to be sued to high hell. Cash for Criminals is dead. Look, I'm going to make that prediction right now. Cash for Criminals is dead. But Xander, that's not the only breaking story that didn't even make it into our losses of the week list because it happened so recently. And that second loss that didn't even make it into the list, but now effectively is, came from a place we've spent a lot of time talking about this year, and that is the Kennedy Center, a place where Defiance.org co-sponsored a protest in response to Donald Trump slapping his name on the building and trying to take over America's creative arts hub in the nation's capital. And Xander, you'll remember this one. A while back, we actually made an entire video imagining the day Donald Trump's name would finally come off the Kennedy Center after he left office. We even launched a campaign around it called Undo Trump. Well, it turns out that day may have arrived a little sooner than any of us expected, because today a federal judge ruled that Donald Trump's hand-picked board did not have and does not have the authority to rename the institution after him. The board approved the change in December, and today Judge Christopher Cooper shut it the hell down, writing that Congress gave the Kennedy Center its name and only Congress can change it. The judge, by the way, also blocked the board's plan to close the center for 2 years while it undergoes renovations, finding that the decision was rushed and based on, shocker, incomplete information. And before we move on, one quick update on that story, which is our friends at Democracy Defenders Fund, friends that Defiance.org members have funded and supported, were the ones behind that lawsuit. Big
Let's
round
go
of applause,
North.
Defiance.org. Yeah, seriously, folks. Seriously,
All right.
if you wanna have a fun talking point to take into the weekend, if you're a Defiance.org member, stop listening to us at the end of this program and go tell someone, hey, by the way, I've been funding the group that sued to take Trump's name off the Kennedy Center, and news alert, it's coming off the Kennedy Center. Now, little caveat for folks, I'm trying to find out exactly when the Kennedy Center is going to comply with this order. I don't think they're going to announce it and give us enough time for a party. I bet it comes down in the middle of the night, Xander, but I'm really hoping I get a little bit of advance notice so I can get in the car and get over there and live stream it. I doubt that'll happen. But look, if you end up seeing any information out there, folks, please hit us up and let us know, because we would like to be there for the removal of his name. Pretty
if
cool,
you're
right,
really
Xander?
dedicated to the cause, Miles, you could moonlight as like a worker at one of these companies that are going to be hired to take it down. There's a whole kind of black hat version where you do take it down. We just need you moonlighting as a construction worker around the Kennedy Center, and maybe we can
That's
get it
right.
done.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly. Okay, so bonus loss of the week that didn't even, again, another one, a third one that didn't make it into our list because there was so much breaking news today, which is another story we've been following closely. You will remember that Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty joined us earlier this month after bringing charges against ICE agent Christian Castro in the Minneapolis shooting case. Today, Castro was arrested in Texas. Now, you'll remember this was the case where video evidence appeared to contradict the government's original account of what happened, leading prosecutors to charge Castro with assault and falsely reporting a crime. Well, it looks like we have an FAFO moment on our hands, Xander, because he has been arrested. Okay, I just have to say, because I'm realizing this as I say it, because there's been so much news today, folks. All three of these losses that I've just mentioned, Defiance.org has been involved in facilitating. The freeze on the slush fund, the name off the Kennedy Center, and finally, the charges against this individual. Let me just go through those quickly in order, because last Thursday, Defiance.org members gave Democracy Defenders Fund a grant for their efforts to try to stop Donald Trump's slush fund. They've already been working their butts off out there publicly to stop this. Now, they weren't the ones that brought this case, but they've been instrumental in helping cases like this move forward, right? All right.
Oh, and Miles, on that, we also funded the Committee for the First Amendment, which did a huge activation in front of the Kennedy Center to bring attention to what was going on.
That's right.
That was like a month and a half ago.
Boom. Win there, Defiance.org members. You helped pause the slush fund. You helped take Trump's name off the Kennedy Center. And this third one, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know, Mary Moriarty, the prosecutor in Minneapolis who brought charges against this agent who was part of Donald Trump's crackdown. Well, guess what? Mary is one of the founding members of the Fight Against Federal Overreach, a project launched by Defiance.org to hold federal agents accountable who broke the law. Win, win, win. It's Friday. So, sorry, I said there was one thing you could go into the weekend telling your friends and family. There's three things you can go into the weekend telling your friends and family, is that you have helped shine a light on and stop Donald Trump's slush fund, at least for now, pull his name off the Kennedy Center, and support the prosecutors who successfully today had a DHS agent arrested for one of Donald Trump's crackdown shootings in Minnesota in January. We could almost end the episode here. There's so much happening, and so much that Defiance.org members have been involved in. Big round of applause, folks, for everything that you've done. Now, we've got a special friend that's going to be joining us for the original list we compiled of MAGA losses of the week. I can't even believe there's a bonus here. Xander. This is like more and more on top of things. The corruption, the criminal activity, it's all being exposed on this Friday, May 29th. And with, again, a lot of involvement from Defiance.org and Defiance.org members. And with us to talk about those additional losses is the incredible Waj Ali. Is he here?
Hey, Waj Ali in the building. What's going on?
I should have worn a hat. No one told me today was hat day.
It's Friday. You have time if you want to scramble over there. If there's one with the
where is your cowboy hat?
You know what? I'm so glad you guys are talking about this because I think it's important since we live in the I said 7th circle of hell because I'm an optimist. Other people said 9th circle of hell. We need to find these small victories, but I think these victories are coming. They're small, but it's our job to collect them and share them. These losses are stacking up, man. The fact that the judge today said, "Hey, your terrorist slush fund," nah. The fact that South Carolina Republicans who are kind of racist were like, "Yo, this gerrymandering is so racist. It's a little too racist for me." Nah. The fact that a federal court said, "You know that hella racist Alabama map." nah, you're gonna have to fight for it. The fact that I don't know if you saw the Huffington Post came out a couple hours ago. It's so disgusting, so pathetic. It's so shameful. The Pentagon is trying to find troops to sit in the live audience of this White House UFC spectacle for Donald Trump's birthday. So they're so pathetic that they're like, please, bro, do it. And like, I don't know. And then did you see like this is the best. That poster came out of all the 80s and 90s hip hop stars, and all of them were like, bro, I'm not doing it. So Young MC, X. And so every day there's more X's. And I think the only two people that are left are Vanilla Ice and that one dude from CNC Music Factory, C. So Vanilla Ice and C are the only ones left.
Who doesn't want to go to that concert, though? You know,
even Flo Rida's like, nah, dog, no apple bottom jeans at the White House.
What's wild about this? First of all, Waj, you scooped us completely. That's like a bunch of our losses we're going to talk about, which is great.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
No, you're not. We're going to dig into all of them. And just as you were coming on, we were talking about the slush fund pause. We were talking about the name coming off the Kennedy Center. We were talking about Hennepin County holding these folks accountable. All three of those cases, Waj, I don't know if you were in the green room yet, that I like, as I was saying it, I realized, and I could see on Xander's face, those are all three areas where Defiance.org members have literally gone and spent money to make those things happen. It's like, it's a huge victory day for folks in the Defiance community. But then you were going through some of the others on the list there, and it's a big week. I mean,
that was the top of my head. That was just the top of my head.
The most embarrassing ones. There's like a lot of just culturally, I don't know if they're like massively systemically impactful to your point, Watch, but some of these are just so fucking embarrassing.
But I feel like the cultural ones are important. I was just talking to Francesca, and I think this is an important point, right? Because you see them look at this week, folks. What was the old MAGA trick? We'll deflect with the culture war, right? Breitbart said it. He goes, politics is downstream from culture. So MAGA capitalized on it with these young bros, the podcast, UFC, comedy, roasts, right? And they were very successful. And so you see, I saw it 2 weeks ago, the desperation. Elon Musk, he's like, did you see there's a black Helen of Troy? There's a black Helen of Troy. Let's get angry about black Helen of Troy in the new Christopher Nolan Odyssey movie, Black Helen of Troy. And people are like, bro, I can't afford my grocery. I don't give a shit about a black Helen of Troy. Black Helen of Troy. And then you saw this week, they're like, Talarico is a gay vegan and he's a transgender. People are like, I can't afford vegetables. He's like, he's a transgender vegan. He's transgender. People are like, bro, transgender.
What are you doing, Stephen Miller?
Yeah, they aren't. You're like, shut up, you ugly fuck. Like, Miles, it's not working. I mean, that's what's so interesting. The shit is not working anymore because his own base, that bro base, I don't know if you saw that. Another loss. Harry Anton said, young men under 30. Do you know how much he's lost? He dropped 66 points, negative. So it's like he's in the negative 49 if I'm doing the math. So he's dropped 66 points with these young bros who are like, we could say the R word. We could say boobs. Let's make fun of transgender people. So they're like this old vaudeville act that has nothing left, that is performing that same routine in Las Vegas. And everyone else who's there is drunk. And one person says, boo. And another person says, shut the F up. You're ugly. And they're like, you shut up. They even brought out that old Harambe meme from 10 years ago. And people are like, what's wrong with you, bro? So I think we have to see this as wins. They're losing culturally. The small wins add up, Miles.
Well, you know what it reminds me of? When you say the old vaudeville act, it reminds me like Adam Sandler in his early movies. It's kind of funny because it's like a 30-year-old man who refuses to grow up, but like a 50-year-old man who refuses to grow up is not funny anymore. It kind of feels like that. It has that tone of like, look, it was all right. The first act of this, it was all right, but it's just embarrassing now again.
But even in Billy Madison, when he was in his 30s acting like a fool, we laughed at him because he was a fool.
Yeah.
But it's not working. And so I think these victories, the fact that they're not working, I'm sorry for this, but I was really thinking about this because we've all spent time with MAGA. And this is why I think I'm trying to give people some wins here on a Friday night. The same old tricks aren't working. With Talarico, they got nothing. Transgender, vegan, shit's not working. Elon Musk tried to make the Odyssey into a thing, not working. And people instead are like, even the UFC thing, it's not working. People are like, why the F is my money going to build this friggin' monstrosity in the people's house? And this mother effer is then right next to it is building $1 billion bunker and now making a 250-foot arch. Now when he wants to put his a face on a $250 bill, I don't even have $2.50 in my wallet. I can't freaking afford my gas. Why the hell are we in Iran? What the F? And how come Don Jr. got $650 million from the Pentagon? I see the pitchforks coming out, folks. I see the pitchforks.
You know, I've never been a big advocate for lighting money on fire, but if Trump's name is on the $250 bills, I'm going to make the case for it. Waj, I'm glad you brought up that that waterfall of different losses of the week, because somehow the list you just went through, none of those made it into our list. I mean, it's just like loss after loss. The list that we did put together, they all had one thing in common, which is that somebody stopped taking the first answer. Now, you're going to see what I mean by that. Let's start in Colorado, Waj. And in Colorado, Republican gubernatorial candidate Victor Marx, who's built much of his public profile around his work as a Marine veteran and founder of All Things Possible Ministries. Well, over the years, Marx and his organization have claimed to carry out more than 150 missions, rescuing women and children, Waj, from trafficking, abuse, and terrorist groups around the world. Well, this week, journalist Kyle Clark asked a pretty simple question. Where's the evidence of that? And from there, things went downhill quickly. Take a look at this clip.
Claim that you make as central to your life story and your accomplishments, to me, stand out above all of the others. And it's about saving women and children.
Yeah.
Your campaign website falsely claimed that you had rescued more than 45,000 women and children, and that claim has since been taken down. How many women and children have you rescued from captivity and abuse?
We've never publicly given the number out for security reasons, and we don't have a need to.
Giving a number would put people in danger.
Yes.
You certainly do use specific rescue numbers, though, when you feel that it suits your purposes. You wrote in February of this year, just last month, our team rescued 43 children from the grips of evil predators. Where did that rescue of 43 children happen?
In the U.S., and that was by, through, and with law enforcement, through a special operations that we do with protecting children's innocence.
Are you referring to Operation Northern Lights in Florida?
Yes.
Okay. So the U.S. Marshals named 25 partner agencies, including 2 rescue ministries that were involved in that operation. They said nothing about you and your ministry.
Oh, man.
But you're claiming credit for those 43 rescues? They didn't even mention you.
Yeah, not credit, participation in what we do.
You said our team rescued 43 children, and the marshals who ran that operation named 25 partners and never said a word about you.
Does that mean we didn't help them?
No, I'm just curious why you think that is.
Great question.
We don't require that we be listed or named in any operations. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
I want to talk about some of the specifics of what you will share about your rescues. You said that you've performed more than 130 missions to rescue women and children from terror and abuse. Your organization says that you've saved women and children from 30 nations. 30 nations, that's a lot of countries. Could you list off a bunch of those for me?
Start with the first.
Yes, sir.
What did I say?
You said that it's in 2024. You said that you've performed more than 130, quote, missions to rescue women and children from terror and abuse. Is what you said factually true, that you have performed more than 130 missions to rescue women and children from terror and abuse?
Where do you cite that?
You said that on X on August 12th of 2024.
This guy came
That's
so
not something
prepared.
I believe I would ever say.
Your full quote was, I wrote this book, Dangerous Gentlemen,
Yes.
after 130 plus missions to rescue women and children from terror and abuse.
I gotta tell you, in the age of social media, Waj, the excuse, and Tucker Carlson just did this the other week, I never said that, is one of the worst fallbacks of all time. One of the worst fallbacks. Everything's documented.
It's like, do you believe your lying eyes or do you believe me? It wasn't me. I didn't do it. Like, I literally see you in bed with another woman. It's not me. You're wrong.
Not me.
What are you talking about?
The Shaggy doctrine, as they call it.
Body double. It's a
Shaggy
clone. It's a clone. This is wild. This gentleman is running for governor of Colorado, and I think he just got torched. I mean, It's tough to add hyperbole onto what that journalist just did.
That was, and as you know this, sometimes the act of good journalism back in the day was you give them enough. This was a saying, folks, figuratively, you give them enough rope to hang themselves with.
Yes.
So you do kind of leading questions and then the answer. You do a little bit of a follow-up, the answer. And that was a perfect example of the journalist giving the individual enough rope to just stand up on the stool, take the rope, put it around, and then just destroy figuratively his political career. In a perfect world, that should be the end of it, because he had no justification. He couldn't even lie properly. You could just tell internally he was crapping. He was crapping inside himself, if that was possible. We just saw that happen in real time.
I gotta say,
different than the digestive process, crapping inside yourself.
He got inverted.
Okay,
it is so fitting that so many of these MAGA folks have gone from claiming to be defenders of women and children to becoming pedo protectors. Honestly, like
Paxton. Paxton.
Exactly. Ken Paxton in Texas. I think it was proposed yesterday by our friend Jojo from Jurors. I think she said the Tallarico campaign should just nickname him Pedo Protector Paxton, and that should be the whole thing. That should be the whole thing. They don't need to do anything else besides a campaign slogan. You're going to vote for a Pedo Protector? Yep, that's the ball game.
Didn't you guys almost get a sense of? I had almost a feeling of deja vu watching that journalist do what he was doing. Like, we used to see that more often.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, journalism used to have, they weren't just buddies with all these guys. They had kind of this antagonistic relationship with these guys, holding them to task all the time. And that was a throwback moment. And it'd be great to see more of that from the press corps.
Oh, you're muted, Waj.
Real quick, I just want to share with y'all, because I was with CNN for a year as a contributor. And let me tell you all that when it was right before the pandemic, and I used to go in the green room. And so in the green room, you used to go there and used to sit down, you used to have a free Coke. And this was right before we were going to go on air and talk to folks. And a lot of these Republicans used to come there and sit down. Two things I want to share with y'all. Nearly every single Trump supporter, guess what? Every single Trump supporter, before and after, they said, I hate this guy. I can't stand his base and his voters, number one. Secondly, what they used to do is they used to say, you know what? I'm friends with all these people. It's okay. So they used to party with all the anchors and hosts. And afterwards, they sat there, and it was a nice big grift for all of them. So all this is, if you will, a big grift where they're all friends and they're all pals and they all get along. But that was an example of one individual who decided to do his job. And decided to do his job in a non-confrontational way. He did his job, asked the follow-up questions, and it's a one big club. And if you don't believe me and you think I'm making this up, folks, I give you the White House Correspondents' Dinner from last month.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. Well, that man for sure was not a Scott Jennings, who is, I think, officially categorized by scientists as a quivering, wasted piece of jelly. Anyway, we go on to our next MAGA loss of the week, which involves a microphone finding its way into the wrong hands. Fox News recently hit the streets looking for reactions to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I think it's fair to say that they were hoping for a very specific answer, and instead they got this. Take a look.
What has she done for your district?
I think for instance, she helped bring 30,000 books to school kids within the district.
Did you vote for her for president?
If depending on what the field looks like, maybe. Yeah, I think she's very smart. I think she's well educated. She's very articulate. I think I really like what she stands for.
I did like her spirit. I did like that she was out there talking to people and greeting people on voting day. So I was coming off the subway and there she was.
Do you think spirit and greeting people is enough of a qualification to be president?
It's a start.
It's so good. It's so good. And that's what, by the way, that was a pre-recorded segment, which meant they took that into the cutting room. The question is, what hit the cutting room floor? They probably had people who gave such flattering examples of AOC. The most damning examples they could find was someone saying she shows up, she greets people, she takes the subway, she's done things for school children.
Yeah.
Wow, Fox, having a
It's
hard
like
time.
when they try to find people who want to rail against Mamdani in New York, it gets increasingly hard. It's also when Fox tried to create manufactured outrage over the past 2 years, taxing billionaires. And then they show their own poll where people are like, yeah, taxing billionaires. They're like, anyway, next segment, a transgender M&M candy.
Yeah, well, Watch, to your point, like we're a long way from this being like the Rupert Murdoch, like Milton Friedman vision for the Republican Party, right? Like Donald Trump has totally transformed the Republican Party, and
right.
they have a completely different set of agendas that every once in a while Fox forgets, and they go back to those old priorities. And to your point, they're like, yeah, we fucking hate billionaires and we don't want to go to war.
Amen. Well, okay, third one. Waj, maybe you've got the connection. Maybe our producer has got the connection, but this is about someone who we have to bring onto this program. And I want Waj to be here when we talk to this individual, because our third MAGA loss of the week comes from someone who managed more journalism in about 2 minutes than some of the cable news networks manage in an entire week. And his name is Santiago Campos. He's an 18-year-old high school senior from Washington, D.C., who was awarded the prestigious Mike Wallace Memorial Scholarship at this week's News and Documentary Emmy Awards. That scholarship, by the way, is funded by CBS News, and Campos was invited on stage to accept it in front of some of the biggest names in television journalism. Now, most people would probably go up there, watch, and they would smile and say thank you, and they'd be so excited, and I'm going to put this on all my college and scholarship applications, take the check, and leave. But Santiago had other plans. Let's watch.
And while I want to thank CBS News for funding this generous gift towards my education, I want to also acknowledge how the recent direction of the outlet stains the legacy of Mike Wallace, the namesake of this scholarship. As corporate elites take hold...
What a boss.
As corporate elites take hold over the very pipes through which our information flows, journalism that serves the people becomes increasingly harder to come by, yet ever more crucial. And what the people want is the truth. So if at any time you hesitate to utter the word genocide or remain silent in the face of blatant lies, remember to ask yourself, who is this for? I hope you choose us. Thank you.
Wow.
And
Hero,
while
hero of the week. Hero of the week.
Totally.
Well done, young man. I mean, going back to my point when I was telling you that brief story, and I'll have specifics for you, but that CNN story, the White House Correspondents' Day, the incestuous club, where they sit there and laugh and smile. Scott Jennings just ridicules them to their face, where they sit there and go to Donald Trump and kiss his ass, even as he says you're the enemy of the people, as they sit there and sleep with each other and party with each other and think it's oh so great to get the scoop, even though fascism is right around the corner. Here's this 18-year-old that gets up at the start of his career and reminds everyone, hey, look at what American journalism was. Look at Murrow, look at Cronkite, look at CBS, look at what we're supposed to do. And he just casually and calmly just morally slapped them in the face. And it was an 18-year-old doing it. I love it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That is what this looks like. That is defiance, all right? Donald Trump came back into office wanting to make people feel like they could not do what that young man just did. Scared because he would investigate them. He would prosecute them. He would ruin their lives. DOJ would open up inquiries. Other agents, agencies would open up inquiries. The news networks wouldn't hire him. He would be canceled. I mean, they've tried every single way to intimidate people like Santiago for exactly what he just did. And he did it anyway. Here's the thing. He spoke with the Guardian newspaper afterwards. And here's what he had to say. He said, quote, I knew it was kind of what I had to do. I felt like I couldn't just accept the scholarship and also ignore just how wrong the direction of CBS is going. Awesome. I was nervous to speak to such a large crowd, but there was never a question about if I was going to say the things I said or not. I think that was always my plan.
Guys, I wonder if we're all about the same age. I wonder if the youth are better positioned to criticize power than we were. In some ways, like we were coming up in the kind of end of history, post-Cold War America, and I had to fall out of love with a lot of the American propaganda that was given to me about who we were and how we achieved things and how our system worked. And I had become disinfatuated with it over time. And there were a lot of adults that were older than me that I really wanted to like me and I wanted to work for one day and build companies with, etc. These kids have grown up in the Donald Trump era. You know, they've grown up in an area where they know about climate change. They grew up in an area where they're way more cynical about capitalism and the abuses of people all across the world. And so I wonder if for those reasons, they're much better positioned to be active dissenters and members of the Defiance than maybe we were at the same age.
And I think to your point, but also other things that are happening is things are so much worse that if you look at every single metric of young people, it's so sad. We've talked about this often in my show. If you look at every poll, folks, young people, ask them about the future, hope, optimism, marriage, economy, education, all negative. All negative.
Totally.
Not stupid. They see it. This is the first generation that is poorer than their parents' generation. They're like, I don't know if I have Social Security. Forget Social Security. Will I have healthcare? In fact, I don't have healthcare. I'm barely getting by because I'm on my parents' healthcare. Will I get married? Will I have enough money to get married? Even if you listen to some of these alpha bros, you know, the shtick, the toxic Magnolia Tom Cruise shtick, which is now making people so much money, the Andrew Tate shtick. If you really listen to them sometimes, what do they say? Everything's effed anyway.
Yes.
We can't afford women, so what's the point? Dating women is gay. So we're not even red pill. We're not even blue pill. We're black pill. We're accelerationists. Everything's a joke. So they're becoming like these nihilists, right? So the fact is some of them in the extreme are becoming nihilist, but this other group is coming and says, no, we don't give a shit. You guys are bringing us down. We're going to destroy you. So if you saw last week, another good news story was these valedictorian speeches. I'm sure you saw the Google guy, Eric Schmidt, who was in Arizona. And then there was another guy. They were trying to extol the virtues of AI. And I don't know if you saw these clips. Like it wasn't just one or two or a few. All the kids, all the graduating kids repeatedly booed this man. And then he was like, now, kids, the AI is here. Like, boo. Now, kids, you're going to have to make money. You know, it's like graduate plastics instead of plastics AI. And they were like, boo. And I think they're fed up with it. And I also think two things, because it's the selfie generation, right? All of them are kind of comfortable speaking to a camera. Like all of them are confident posing. All of them are confident having an audience. Whereas I'm speaking for myself. It took me a long time to develop that confidence to get in front of a crowd. I was like 10 or 11 and 12 and slowly but surely. But these kids are born that way. So I think that more of a type of confidence to not just speak out, but to also then reach out to a global audience. And that's bad for billionaires, man.
It's funny. My sister just brought up this video she saw, which was talking about millennial cringe, like Gen Z made it. And they talk about the verbal pause that millennials do, where they start a conversation to the camera, where they go, "Hi there, I'm Xander." And that's not, and Gen Z just starts talking naturally. And Waj, it's so interesting to your point. Like I grew up, afraid of talking in front of big crowds, right? And because they're so different than the way I engage socially on a one-to-one level or but for them, it's one and the same because the whole thing is talking to a camera. So they can be, incredible speakers to the general public in the same way that they send Snapchats to their friend. It's such a great point you made.
But they're not taking it, Miles. That's the thing I want to say is that they're sick and tired. If you think young people will take it, y'all aren't paying attention. And this is where I think there's a failure real quick of the establishment across all the sides. Because the establishment is saying, remember like 10 years ago, the establishment saying, trust capitalism. If you listen to young people, they're like, why? Screwed me. What else you got? MAGA. Okay. MAGA sucks. What else you got? Democratic socialism? Sure. What else you got? Like they're not just shoveling into their mouth what we were told. We were told capitalism, like capitalism. Go to church, go to mosque. Yes. America is the greatest. America is the greatest. American dream. Yes. And we were able to kind of see that type of exceptionalism. These kids don't see any of that exceptionalism. They just see shit.
What's great about that? I mean, it sounds kind of dark when you put it that way, but what's so great about that is it forces that generation, like other great generations, to reinterrogate first principles. They have to literally go find them for themselves again, recommit to them, and preserve them on their own. Because the people, their forebears, most immediately, have wrecked it. They've taken a wrecking ball to it, so they got to go find it again, and they got to fix it. And that leads to frankly, a much deeper affinity for the thing that you've built, the thing that you're protecting, the democracy itself. And so in a bleak way, it's actually pretty special that this generation gets the privilege to rediscover what America is and should be and defend it. To that end, Waj, because now we're going to talk about the villains. I want to ask, do you have time to stay with us for the villains here? You do?
I got 15 minutes if you want me.
Perfect. That's when we
Miles.
got to end. Otherwise, our producer and my wife both blow me up at the same time.
When do you want to share the ability to vote? At the beginning or the end of this?
Right now. So
Let's do it.
Here's what we're going to do. So this, just for background for folks and for Waj, in case you haven't seen us do this, we started giving out the other month the Donald J. Trump Soulmate Award, spelled SOLEMATE, soulmate, as in a shoe, because there was a story we just could not get over about Donald Trump gifting his favorite shoes, these black Florsheim Oxfords, to his acolytes. And they felt so pressured to wear them that even when they didn't fit, according to Wall Street Journal reporting, cabinet officials, White House aides were wearing these shoes around. There was even a picture of Marco Rubio walking around in floppy clown-sized shoes on Capitol Hill that appeared to be Florsheim shoes given to him by Donald Trump. No better image I've seen than the one where his cabinet members are sitting next to him, all wearing the same shoes. It just epitomized these lackeys under Donald Trump, these supplicants, these individuals who have become his stormtroopers in advancing his wannabe dictatorship. So, Waj, we started to give out this award to people who we think have not received a pair of these shoes, but are desperate to audition for them. The first awardee was Scott Jennings from CNN, who we talked about earlier. We sent him a pair of shoes. Unfortunately, he sent those shoes back. And so we've stopped sending the shoes to the winners, Waj, because they don't seem to enjoy them. And they seem upset to be called out for being bootlickers. And so instead, we've encouraged our audience just to go let folks know, not be mean, not harass, not dox. Go let them know joyfully in their comments that they won this week's Donald J. Trump Soulmate Award. And we have a nice little picture of them in a pair of shoes. So here's the thing. Today, we're going to let the folks who are watching decide who the winner should be. And to help us do that, we have created a live poll on soulmate.vote. So you can type this in on your browsers. Waj and Xander, if you guys are able to, take a look, pull it up, SOLEMATE.vote. We can paste that into the chat, which our producer will put the link of into the chat if she hasn't already. And then you can click it. And as we're going through each of these nominees, you can follow along and decide who you want.
I already made my vote because I had it in my head and you guys had them. I made my vote within like less than 2 seconds.
Well, we're going to go through the nominees first, but some of you may even just see the pictures and decide, based on the stories. So cast your vote there as we go along. Our first nominee is Senator Jim Banks. Banks was asked about a proposal floated by the administration to block international flights from landing in so-called sanctuary cities. Now, some politicians might hear that idea and wonder whether it makes any damn sense at all. But Jim Banks heard it and said, punishing cities that are merely protecting people who are here in this country, sign me up, even as the hosts stared at him blankly. Take a listen.
Enforcement isn't able to do their job because they said, quote, they don't have the resources. Well, we have to prioritize our resources as well.
Do you support that idea?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, you think about blocking international flights into sanctuary cities that are harboring illegal immigrants, who many of them who are violent criminals. Send those international flights to red state cities that aren't sanctuary cities, and the country will be safer and better off for it. I think Secretary Mullen is onto something here. This is a good idea to punish those cities that are opposed to cracking down on illegal immigrants and restoring law and order. I like this idea.
Okay.
Senator, thanks for being with us
I gotta
today.
say one thing that.
Thank you.
Look at the
Well,
look at the silence.
anybody who doesn't have to go through Newark or JFK or all of the airports around us might like that idea. I think it's not going to go over too well with most of the residents in those states. Indeed. Let me get you this break.
So even the hosts aren't on board with that, Waj, but I have to say what's hilarious about this is Senator Jim Banks is from where I'm from. He is from Indiana. And I can tell you right now, if they shut down O'Hare in Midway in Chicago, that's where Hoosiers fly out of. They don't fly out of Indianapolis Airport. They fly out of Chicago. It's going to literally, it will punish his state harder than like even parts of Illinois. Indiana will get its ass kicked by that. What a great representative for the state of Indiana.
You saw his brain short-circuiting in real time. You saw like him trying to be a man, but then the gimp comes out and like the gimp then takes over, right? And then he voluntarily puts on the mask with the apple and then exposes his bare ass to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's like, I don't want to do that. He goes, hit me, please. He goes, stop it. Just stop it. Get up. He goes, no, I'm on all fours. That's gross. You saw that. You saw it in real time, right? He's like, oh, what am I saying? I'm saying stupidity. I don't believe any of this, but President Trump said it. So yes, I guess I will agree with this, even though it'll be disastrous and terrible for everyone. The gimps.
Unbelievable.
When you first used the word gimp, I was like, I wonder what kind of gimp he's referencing. And then you kept going.
Oh, you know.
Like, it's that.
Bring out the gimp. Gimp sleep. Guess you just got to wake him up.
amazing.
And then Jim Banks comes out.
I have followed Jim Banks' career for a long time since he was in the House of Representatives, and he's the type of guy that always tried to portray himself as independent-minded and an independent thinker and not beholden. I mean, he has completely chained himself like a dog to Donald Trump, just following him around. He could not possibly have imagined going on Fox News and saying, I think it sounds a little bit psychotic that DHS is talking about shutting down airports. This would be the logical equivalent of me saying, well, we don't like the policies somewhere like Texas. Why don't we blow up all the highways into Texas? Right? This is crazy. That's a
By the way,
crazy
gang,
thing to say.
sanctuary city list: New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Seattle. It's basically all the biggest cities in America on both coasts. So I don't know where everyone's flying into Miami. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Tourism is down 20% in the United States. We should just end it. We should just say we've officially decided no more tourists here, and we're going to take a huge L economically.
But exactly, that's the point I was going to, Maz. The reason why this will never happen is at the end of the day, the religion of America is capitalism. In God we trust. And these hubs, if they shut it down, do you think the billionaires will allow these hubs, these economic engines to shut down, where all these people come and then travel to America, and then they come here and they vacation and they travel and they have properties there? No, like you shut down these hubs. Are you kidding me? It's over. Like, look at the disastrous effect it'll have on just internally in America when it comes to our economy. So no, it's never going to happen, which is what he should have said. This is terrible. This is stupid. We shouldn't punish millions of people just because of the sins of the few. And this will be terrible for the American economy, and also terrible for our allies and for tourism and for foreign business. So no, I would like for him to reconsider. But the gimp's going to gimp. What are you going to do?
There you go. Well, he's not the only nominee. So our second nominee this week for the Donald J. Trump Soulmate Award, willing to embrace anything and everything that his administration wants to do, is Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. This week, Kyle Clark asked how she felt about something Donald Trump had said about her. And let's just say the answer explains exactly why she made the list this week.
Here we are 7 years later, and Donald Trump is threatening to endorse a primary challenger against you. Life comes at you fast, huh?
It does, yes. A lot has changed over the years. My support for the president has not changed.
President Trump never just disagrees with people, right? He has to disagree and insult people. Yes. President Trump called you dumb. If one of my friends called me dumb, that would bother me. Did it bother you?
Well, I think it was low IQ.
He used the word dumb.
Did he use dumb?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that usually...
He said weak-minded and dumb.
Weak-minded, that's right. I mean, he could have thrown in there that I only have a GED, and that would have been okay and completely factual.
Amazing.
But I'm still going to continue to support him, and the promises he and I have both made on campaign trails to ensure that we keep those promises.
You know what? Trump might have had a point. I think Trump might have been onto something.
That was, he could have said low IQ because that somehow is better. Low IQ somehow is better than dumb. And he could also said I have a GED. That would be accurate. In fact, you know what? He is right. I am dumb, and I do have low IQ. He is correct. It was very close between. I won't mention who I picked, but let's just say she was up there among the three. I was just for that half second. I was contemplating.
Okay, that was the first time I've seen that clip. I can't even talk. You can't even editorialize about that. She did exactly what you just said, Waj. The only step further she could have gone is, oh my God, I love him so much. He's right. I'm so dumb. I'm such an idiot. I'm as dumb as he wants me to be, and I'll be even dumber for him if he needs me to be. I mean, what a crazy ass thing to do that she just did.
That is, and I'm not judging anyone, but that's someone's fetish, right? The sub, the dom, they want the dom to pee on them and poo on them and mock them and ridicule them and tell them how they're dirty and gross and disgusting. Who am I to judge? That's the fetish of the Republican Party. You think I'm wrong, folks? These are amazing clips. I've been saying it. They're all subs, especially the men. They're cucks. That's what they're into. They love to put the red ball in their mouth and get on all fours and say, paddle me harder, daddy, which is, I'm not judging. I'm not judging.
This is why you're the best Friday guest ever.
Deep into this metaphor.
Okay, but we can't bias the voting here because we have a third nominee for the award, and that is the Treasury Secretary himself, who I will say it's possible he's got a pair of the shoes. Although, Scott Bessent, I think, has very expensive shoes. And I just want to note that Wall Street Journal article from earlier this year said one of the cabinet members who was granted these shoes by Donald Trump was very upset because he had to take his $1,000 shoes and put them on the shelf and wear these crappy Donald Trump shoes. I don't know that it's the Treasury Secretary, which is why we put him on this list, but I think there's a decent chance. But nevertheless, he could still win today at a moment when Americans continue worrying about housing costs and grocery bills and whether they can afford the basics. Our Treasury Secretary was asked about the administration's priorities, and his answer: let's put the face of the man responsible for all of this mess on the $250 bill, because apparently there's always time for branding. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Do you think it's a good idea, though, when people are struggling to afford gas and groceries?
Look, I think it has. I think that it's bifurcated. Do you think we should have a 250th anniversary, the celebration?
Well, that's happening anyway, but putting the president's face on a $250 bill is
But Kayla, it's not happening anyway. It's happening because it's being funded by private citizens, by the federal government, by state governments, by municipal governments to celebrate our country. And I don't think that there's anything untoward about having the President of the United States, the person who was President of the United States, on the 250th anniversary bill.
Look, I mean, I know people are bored, but
by Donald Trump. I bring the paddle of Donald Trump and I'd say, which paddle do you want, Donald Trump? And I'd say, please get not just one buttock, but two buttocks. Would you like me to jump for you, Donald Trump? I say, perfectly. No, fine. Well, that's the problem. No, why not? I personally want to replace all my dollar bills with Donald Trump's $250 bills. And I think every child in America should have a $250 bill, but I'm not going to give it to them. I'll just take it from them. That's just me. I'm Scott Bessent.
Waj, you should run as a Republican just in this character and see how it goes. I think you might go really well.
I think you might win. You could win U.S. Senate race in Texas with that whole affect.
The psychology, the face that he makes. He missed the photo. Then he takes the photo of the $250 bill, this obscenity, and he just preens with the photo like, look at this. This is amazing. This desecration, sorry, that's my take on Bessent. Just disgusting.
These people have gone above and beyond to humiliate themselves. I mean, I thought it was bad. The very first cabinet meeting in the first administration, I'll never forget having a conversation with John Kelly, who was then DHS secretary and my boss, when he came back from that cabinet meeting. And he could tell I didn't say anything. My mouth was wide open. It was unbelievable because the whole meeting, people just went around and praised him and praised him and praised him and praised him. And the only two people who didn't just drool over Donald Trump were John Kelly and Jim Mattis, who talked about their workforce. Everyone else said, oh, I'm here and I'm so grateful for you, Mr. President. They said, I'm grateful to represent the men and women of our departments. And that is not what those two men did. Now it is just a race into Donald Trump's shoes. They're all trying to fit their tongues in between his socks and the edge of his shoes just to have them in there. It's remarkable. So I think this is actually a very tough race this week. I think this is a tough one.
You're so much nicer. You say the shoes. I say they're all crammed into his anus.
He went there.
That's a different graphic. That's good. If we start that award, it's going to be a different graphic.
They're crawling down. They're digging down to find crypto. All they find is cankles. They dig up to find gold. They just find fissures. It's Friday. F them all.
Standard. I will never forget that. That's a different graphic. Maybe the last week we ever do this, it'll be that graphic. All right, let's find out in a second here. But just before I announce the winner, as the results are in, Waj, are you willing to tell us who got your vote this week, or you want to keep that? You want to keep it private vote? That's okay. We do secret ballot here.
I'll say it because I'm with the people, and the people are with me, folks. I should run for office. I see the final standings. 77.5% of Americans voted with me.
I don't see the standings because I don't have it open. Who won?
Oh,
Scott Bessent.
Secretary Scott Bessent.
Whoa! All right, Scott. Let's see. Here we go. Donald J. Trump's Soulmate Award winner is the Treasury Secretary. You know, if he did receive an actual physical copy of those shoes, now he gets the rest of America celebrating the award of the virtual copy, because here is what we encourage you to do, friends. You can go to the website, soulmate.vote, if you weren't there already, and take a screenshot. Or you can just take a screenshot of this right now. And we encourage you to go share the good news. I said, don't be harassing and doxing and mean. Go share the good news that he won the award this week. You can go post that on his socials, in his comments, on the Treasury Department's public page. Let's celebrate America's Treasury Secretary for doing literally anything the President of the United States wants him to do. Congratulations, Scott. You've told career and reputation in front of the nation.
He's one of these reeks who's so disgusting that if you actually sent him the shoe, he'd keep the shoe.
Yeah, he might. Guys, what are the chances that Scott Bessent saw that we were dealing with inflation and he wanted to take some money out of the money supply, and so he decided to launch a currency where people might in fact burn it? Miles, as you suggested, might be a galaxy brain move by Bessent.
Yeah, that's right. Well, look, I'll say this as we round out the program here. There are a lot of profiles in courage in American history, and those are instructive. They teach you how to be. But this administration, as bleak as it's been, has given us, and I only say this half facetiously, has given us some of the most remarkable profiles in cowardice that future generations will look at and say, that's not what I want to be. Because you can say the Nazi takeover of Germany was catastrophic for the world, but it also reminded the world what evil looks like. This administration has reminded Americans and the world what corruption looks like, what supplication looks like, what the abdication of American values looks like. And we are going to use these people as examples in eternum for what not to be. Waj, thank you so much for joining us for Defiance Daily on this Friday.
That was fun, man. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for inviting me. I think humor is necessary for catharsis, for levity, but also as a weapon to mock and disrobe these emperors who have no clothes. And there's a reason why in the past where Putin, he came in and he not only just shut down the satirical show, he shut down the entire TV station. Mussolini, tough guy, imprisoned people who used to make fun of him. Donald Trump, he got rid of Stephen Colbert and wants to get rid of Kimmel. So I think we have to mock them, shame them, ridicule them. And the last thing I'll say is, even though they've decided to be gimps and reeks, you get one life. And I think the fight against fascism is an honorable and good fight. And you ask yourself, well, why should I do this? How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be remembered by your children? How do you want your life to echo through the universe? And do you want to go out as a reek and a gimp, or do you want to go out as a person who did their part to fight for this country and fight for this democracy? I know how I want to go out, so that's my last 2 cents. Have a good
Amen,
weekend.
my friend.
you,
I
brother.
see the Millennium Falcon behind you, and I officially christen you the Han Solo of the pro-democracy movement. Thank you, Waj Ali. Thank you,
And
Xander
yes, I
Schultz.
shot first. I did shoot first.
Thank you, Defiance.org members. We'll see you on Monday. As we always say, stay loud, stay brave, and stay together.
See ya.